And welcome to Hot News. We are live on Facebook at Pan-African Television. We're also live on YouTube at Pan-African Television, as well as 48 African countries. Everyone watching us from all those places, I say good evening to you. Tonight promises to be very exciting. You can join in the conversation by sending in your views, comments, and contributions on our WhatsApp text line displayed on the screen. We'll make a time and read all those out for you. You can as well leave your suggestions, questions, and whatnot. And we'll make a time and read all those out for you. Make sure that you share the Facebook Live for other people to also watch tonight's edition of the program. My name is Justice Appiah, and tonight on Hot News, we are still looking at the 2022 budget statement presented by the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta. You know that a lot of issues have confronted the budget, especially when it comes to its approval. The minority group in Parliament rejected it. Later, the majority group approved it. It became an issue, a problem. I mean, of course, it turned Parliament into a boxing arena. But we are still at a crossroads. We are unable to approve or nor reject the budget. Today, the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, held a press conference in order to review the budget, and this is what he said. The e-levy is still at 1.75%. You know that as part of the things minority group in Parliament, are contesting, the 1.75% e-levy is part. They are also talking about the ECA energy deal to be taken out. They are asking government to take out the Ejapa deal. They are asking government to include, the issue of Keta, Anglo, and Ketu South tidal waves and all of that, because they didn't see anything in that. They were supposed to have a consultative meeting in order to make sure that they have reached agreements and all of that on that. Unfortunately, it has not yielded any fruit. However, the Finance Minister says they are still consulting Parliament, especially the minority group and some other important stakeholders, to make sure that an agreement has been reached for the budget to be passed appropriately. He indicated, or he warned over the implications or repercussions of not passing or approving the budget and all of that. We will listen to the Finance Minister on the e-levy. When we come back, I'll introduce my guest, the discussion to start. Let's go and listen to the Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta. We'll be right back.
On the matter of the e-levy, the elephant in the room, having regard to its serious fiscal implications, we'll continue our consultations with the minority caucus in Parliament and other relevant stakeholders with a view to achieving consensus and reverting to the House in the shortest possible time. Ladies and gentlemen, with the approval of the budget secured on 30th November 2021, we should now move on to the urgent task of working towards the passage of the appropriation bill before Parliament rises on December 17, 2021. We believe that the concerns raised in Parliament on the 2022 budget should be resolved during the discussions of the budget estimate of MDAs, other government obligations, and bills at the committee level in Parliament, as we have always done. Indeed, there have been occasions that Parliament, through the Finance Committee, had revised fiscal measures. There have also been several instances that estimate of some MDAs have been revised to reflect recommendations of the committees of Parliament. It is not uncommon for the allocations in the appropriation to change to reflect the discussions at the consideration stage. Ladies and gentlemen, the national budget remains the single most effective tool to address the greatest challenges of our nation. As a country, we cannot allow such a strategic national tool to be held hostage by partisan or parochial interests.
Welcome back. That was the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, right there. He addressed the media today. But let me read some few issues that came up or that came out of the press conference today. Finance Minister has reiterated that the new 1.75% electronic transactions levy to take effect in 2022 has not been changed. According to him, the essence of their proposal on the e-levy is to widen the tax net and generate the required revenue to support entrepreneurship, youth employment, build the country's infrastructure, especially roads, and reduce the country's debt. He was speaking at a press briefing to address concerns raised by analysts, stakeholders, and the general public on the components of the budget. The minister disclosed that any revision of the tax contrary to what has been stated in the budget should be disregarded. Earlier, some legislators have hinted at a reduction in the e-levy to at least 1%. Other stakeholders have also called for the pegging of the e-levy at between 1% and 1.5%. The finance minister debunked any such review, reiterating, permit me to emphasize, quote, that the e-levy represents our greatest opportunity to, in the medium term, broaden the tax base and meet the tax to GDP ratio of 20% as pertains among our peers. So those are the words of the finance minister, Ken Ofori-Atta. You recall that the deputy majority leader in parliament, Honorable Afenyo Makin, some time ago talked about the fact that they were considering reducing the e-levy from 1.75% to 1%. Well, the finance minister has debunked that. He says that that has not been, the issue, and that the general public should disregard, those assertions and all of that. But don't forget that a lot of Ghanaians have been complaining bitterly about the introduction of e-levy as well as some other components of, the budget. The e-levy in itself has been the contention and all of that amongst members of parliament. Some are saying that let's reduce it, some are saying that scrap it, others are saying that we won't reduce it, neither are we going to scrap it. Where are we heading to? The budget is still in parliament. Has the budget been approved? Has it been rejected, as we've seen? Well, I've been joined in the studio by Elikem Kotoko, a member of the National Democratic Congress's communications team. And I prefer to call him incoming National Youth Organizer of the biggest opposition party in the country, National Democratic Congress, because I've been seeing people rooting for Elikem on social media. Elikem, good evening. How are you doing?
Good evening.
You have been missing in action.
Yes, I've been I've been around, but not in Accra. So I've been moving about.
It means that you are still working.
It's a privilege to be here once more.
Right. Yes. Right. Also in the studio is my very good friend and a brother, Solomon Owusu, member, MPP Communications team. Solomon, how are you doing?
Not bad at all. Good evening to your viewers and also to Elikem.
How is Alan Cash?
Oh, Alan is doing very well. I mean, the whole country is looking up to him to deliver his, and also help Nanado's government to move to the promised land, as anyone or everyone is expecting. So Alan is doing very well. Recently, some detractors came out with some unnecessary news about his health.
Right.
And, just to clarify there that nothing of that sort has happened. Honorable and John Kojo Tramantin is healthy, going about his statutory duties in a healthy manner. So all these are just coming from the quarters of people that feel entreated or threatened by his presence.
Who are those feeling threatened, and why would they be threatened? What for?
Well, I mean, if you are playing against Messi or you are playing against Ronaldo and you are not of that caliber, you would definitely wish that he gets injured, but that your wishes or your thinking is not what the creator of this world has for him. So we would just ignore it, take it as normal, take it in our strides, and then move on. But the bottom line is that Alan John Kojo Tramantin is very fit, focused, and going about his duties.
Well, finally on this Alan issue, before we move on to the substantive topic, you are very close to Alan Tramantin. I mean, some birds have been whispering on the corridors that he's considering, of course, contesting the primaries for the 2024 race. How true is that? Is it something that you know for a fact that Alanche Martin will contest?
Well, what I would say for now is that as a founding member of this party, as someone who has been a member of NEC for close to 10 years, he believes in the rules and regulations of the party. As we speak, the party has not officially opened nominations for presidential aspirants.
Very well.
For that matter, I want to respect the man that I follow, who believes in the rule of law.
Very well.
So for this reason, I would not make any conclusive remarks towards that, except to say that some of us believe he has to contest in the upcoming presidential election when nominations are open, and you would likely see him on the ballot box.
Very well. Thank you so much, Solo, for that one. I'll start with you, Eli Kem, on the issue of the 2022 budget. I think that you've followed, at least you've listened to excerpts of some of the things or some of the components people have been complaining about in this country. One of the things that has been a bone of contention, or that has been in contention, is the 1.75% e-levy. Today, Finance Minister says that they are not going to, backtrack on that 1.75% e-levy introduction, and that is meant to widen the tax net in order to take care of a lot of things the country will need, like roads, youth employment, and all of that. However, they are still, consulting Parliament, especially the minority and some relevant institutions, to see how best they can agree on some of these things and all of that. I take on that this has been a bone of contention. The minority has laid down, or have actually enumerated some of the things they would want to be taken out of the budget and those that they would want to be added. For instance, they would want the inclusion of something on the K2 South and Anglo tidal waves. Also, they would want the Ejapa deal to be taken out, the Eka Energy or Aka Energy deal also to be taken out, and then the 1.75% levy to be scrapped. Your take on that?
Yeah, thank you, Justice. And good evening to everybody, my brother, Solomon, yourself, and to our cherished viewers at this time. I would want to say a special good evening to Mr. Abuba, and then also to Honorable Nelson, former Member of Parliament for Daboya.
Okay.
Justice, I am very surprised that the competent governance that Ghanaians were promised in 2016 by President Nana Addo and his crew is what we are seeing today. That a government could be so bereft of ideas, so shallow, to the extent that a government that seeks to rake in revenue in order to develop a country will abolish road tolls and now be telling you and I they want to develop roads. When they were even collecting road tolls, they couldn't actually develop the roads. And now they have abolished road tolls. And isn't it surprising that after almost over 2 weeks after reading the budget, the finance minister still has no clue what ways to go around this whole issue. If you listen to the submissions he made, he still could not make any alternative to the e-levy, which has been opposed by many, including their own people, no less a person than the vice president who was leader or who is chair of the economic management team. Unless we are to believe that this budget or this government has suddenly become anti-Bawumia. Because if you recall, somewhere last year, Dr. Bawumia told you and I, in his usual loudmouth speaking engagements, that Momo doesn't need to be taxed. Today, what are we seeing? The same Dr. Bawumia told you and I that in order to develop our road networks, etc., road tolls ought to be what? Increased. And as we speak, road tolls have rather been scrapped completely. Another minister who also hardly confined his speech, but went ahead as a causing for the cessation of collection of road tolls. And I feel very ashamed as youth to still see young men and women in the NPP want to defend this kind of rot. I mean, to what level? As we speak today, you and I are aware that Ghanaians woke up today and had to walk to their various destinations because transport unions had gone on some nationwide strike of some sort. How low can a country sink in the hands of supposed competent managers of the economy? And now I have heard them saying that if this budget is not approved, the economy will collapse. The economy collapsed long before ago. What is there again? We have a regime that has actually accumulated our public debt to over almost 400 billion with nothing to show for it. And as we speak today, you ask if this is the competence that we were promised. They tell you they are breaking the 8. The pound has already broken the 8. The dollar is trying and will soon break the 8. The euro is also trying to break the 8. And so suddenly they don't want to talk about breaking the 8. So we need to let government know that speaking big, flourish English is not the same as governance. And so what Ghanaians thought, the President Nanado, by the way, where is the President now this time? Whilst we are talking about cutting costs or saving Ghanaians and all that, he is globe-trotting. He doesn't bring anything beneficial to Ghanaians apart from video clips of him sleeping and snoring at international summits. When in the midst of COVID, this same president could rather be in his office through the use of technology that they have the vice president being touted for, could have sat in his office and make use of technology and partake in those summits, so that even if he is feeling sleepy, he could still go behind, sleep without any of us seeing. But that is how embarrassing it has become with the entire regime, where even state institutions have become so compromised. And so you can just not even mention one thing and stay only on that, but you are compelled to address a plethora of other challenges that are confronting Ghanaians. As we speak, you recall before the budget was to be read, the finance minister said that he was going to do everything possible to make sure the minority was brought on board. What steps did he take if he is asked? In a country where leadership is what the competence that they defined it to be, one would have expected that the finance minister, knowing the strength of the minority, would have been wise enough, and I repeat, he would have been wise enough, because he has demonstrated he's not wise at all. He would have been wise enough to realize the need to engage the minority in the preparation of even the budget. So that when there were some differences, they could have actually ironed them out. Not when you want to come here to score political points. And you saw the razzmatazz we all witnessed.
But let's
in the
look at the
Parliament
demands of the minority.
I am coming to that.
Right.
For instance, some of the demands which I would place so much weight on is the demand for the fact that there was no inclusion of the anything on the Keta tidal wave or the sea defense matter.
Right.
This is a very serious matter to all of us. It is not as though we didn't know about this before preparing the budget. Don't forget that we need to let Ghanaians even know that our Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, sometime in 2017 or 2018, had the effrontery with the assistance of government to go all the way to Sierra Leone to donate $1 million to victims over there over some catastrophe that befell them.
Right.
But here we are backdoor, not even backdoor, just in our own garden. Something happened. Until date, we do not know. The finance minister was even saying in his submission that 10 million cedis will be allocated now for what? Feasibility studies. The people need to even survive before you start talking about feasibility studies. And he was making reference to NADMO going to their aid. What did NADMO actually do to the people? Without wanting to tout or to praise someone from my own arena, His Excellency the former President John Dramani Mahama. Look at the item that he donated to the victims over there. And our whole National Disaster Management Organization went there with what? And so it is very sad.
Have you listened to the current energy minister,
I listened to you see,
who said that he would also lead his Kumasi people to demonstrate against government if government should go to the aid.
To demonstrate so that they do what for Kumasi?
Because they were also hit with, you know, floods and all of that. And nobody demanded that government at all costs, you know, include that in the budget.
I think Dr. Matthew Prempe, right, with the greatest of respect, should be advised to be listening more than to be smelling more. I think that is his problem now.
I see.
And I repeat, he should be listening more than to be smelling more. And if you listen to what he said, it was total nonsense. And you don't need to massage words with what he said. That is a cabinet minister. And if he could talk loosely as he did, you see the reason why I tell you that if I am you just as yourself, the supposed elders who cannot respect themselves and disregard others in such manner, then they ought not to be accorded any iota of respect or dignity, whatever or wherever they find themselves.
I see.
Because what was the justification for him to try to equate what happened to the victims in Ketu South and Angmo constituencies to the people of Kumasi? What exactly happened in Kumasi? And if he is man enough, he should also embark on the demonstration with his people. That is why I would advise him again that he should listen more than to think that he is able to rather be smelling more. And it is worrying him. He is one of the people who has been a major cause of the mess at the education sector as we speak. And no, I am surprised, but again, I am not shocked that he has been pushed to
the government cannot come out with a budget for a group in parliament, a minority group in parliament, to have said that, well, we want you to do A, B, C, and D, and that if you don't do it, we won't approve the budget. It is
because Dr. Matthew Poku Prempeh is unaware of his surroundings. Like I told you again, he's only smelling and not hearing.
Right.
Because our minority that you are talking of has actually given parliament a hanged parliament sort of.
Right.
We have 137, they have 137. The only reason why you have to be called a majority is that even in parliament there would have to be a majority and a minority, and also on the basis of the fact that the independent candidate chose to do business on their side, and at which times that could vary. Because if he is acting in the capacity of speaker, what happens? Like we also, like I said earlier, the razzmatazz that we witnessed in the Parliament House, where the acting speaker, Joe Wise, also had to say that he was in his capacity not as speaker, but was voting. All that. And you see, the painful part of all that is that it reduces even our legislature to comedy. So what does it teach even my brother and myself? What does it teach you? What does it teach our children at home when they're watching all that comedy that was going on there? What is then the moral fiber, the ethics that we say we claim to uphold in high esteem in order to develop this country? So you would ask yourself if indeed these are people who have Ghana at heart. And I have no reason to believe that the current regime has anything good for Ghanaians.
Right.
You can cite a plethora of examples. From the word go, you and I have witnessed this. The only unfortunate situation as we sit here is that you are an empire. If not, I would have asked you, Justice, how do you feel about this economy as we speak? What exactly is good about this economy? And so, did the minority not approve the 2017 budget? The answer is yes. Did they not approve the 2018 budget? The answer is yes. Did they not approve 2019? The answer is yes. 2020, it is yes. 2021, why are they opposed to it?
Is government not making sense by saying that we need to widen the tax net, and by so doing, the e-levy is one of the best ways to probably do so?
Justice, for the purposes of informing our listeners, right? Let me make this simple analogy.
Right.
Let's assume that you are paid 1,500 by Pan-African Television.
Okay.
Now you are paid that amount into your bank account. You withdraw that money on which tax is already deducted. Which tax is already deducted. Now you withdraw that 1,500 and put on your mobile money account. Any transaction you again effect on that mobile money account is again affected by tax.
Right.
Then whoever you even send to, the market woman who has sold his store to you, will also have to pay further tax, even though he has also paid market.
Right.
So you have to pay tax again on that amount that you have sent to her momo. Does it even make sense? And it never made sense. That is why their own vice president told us last year in an interview with Justice Appiah that it was not possible to actually tax more. Well, I believe that my brother here, probably belonging to the Alliance side, should be telling us what the exact credentials of Dr. Bawumia is when they tout him out there as an economic doyen to the Ghanaian economy. And that is the point. So what is this about this e-levy that Ghanaians have demonstrated widely enough that they are not interested? They will demonstrate against it. But Ken Ofori-Atta and his family and government still believe that they must impose this on Ghanaians, and this is the only way of widening the tax haven. Have you forgotten that in 2017, 2018, we were told that close to, is it 10 billion or 1.2 billion or so, was lost to the black market alone? So if you cannot seal the loopholes, but you think the only best way is to widen it, now as you are widening it, you have rather abolished road tolls. Do you know how much we have lost so far? When appropriation was made in reference to that tolls that we are supposed to have been taking till December ending.
Right.
So I am sorry but to say that we have a regime that has no idea where we are heading to, and we only seem to be taking knee-jerk decisions and feeling very embarrassed. They don't know what to do, but they just feel they must still keep their heads up high and stay the course and remain absolute on their mission. They're on a crash course. And the minority has also stated, in the interest of Ghana and Ghanaians, they will oppose those things until the government listens.
Right, thank you so much, Ali Kem. I'll come back to you. Viewers, you are watching Hot News right here on Pan-African Television with me, Justice Appiah. Keep your messages coming in on our WhatsApp text line displayed on the screen. I'll make a time and read all those out for you. You can as well leave your suggestions, questions, and whatnot on our social media pages on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter at Pan-African Television. If you're watching us on Facebook, please share the Facebook Live for other people to also watch tonight's edition of the program. If you're watching us on Facebook, please share the Facebook Live for other people to also watch tonight's edition of the program. Now, I'll come to you, Mr. Osu. Well, you've heard the Finance Minister. You've listened to what the minority group in Parliament are also saying, what they would want out of the budget and those that they would want included and all of that. Your take on that?
So, thank you very much. First of all, listening to my brother Ali Kem, at least we agree that the country or the government needs revenue to run it.
Right.
That was why he made a categorical statement that he didn't understand why road tolls would have to be removed, because at least it will give the government some revenue to run it. Again, the NDC raised 5 issues.
Yes.
Out of the lot. I mean, a budget of about 1,000 pages with programs and policies. If you only came out with 5 issues, that means by and large the budget was something that was worth passing or approving.
Right.
The issue of Japa, the issue of energy, the issue of benchmark values, the issue of e-levy, and the Keta tidal waves. Well, the government has met the opposition halfway. If you listen to the Minister of Finance today, the issue of Keta has even been expanded to cover the rest of the coastal areas, so that it has not become something that you deal with Keta and tomorrow you have to go to Amina and deal with Amina. You do all at a go and then solve it once and for all. When it comes to benchmark values, the Minister has explained that the Commissioner General, strategic in tandem with our 1D 1F policy of promoting local factories or companies, decided to take about 43 products out of 81, so that those products that we are currently producing in this country, benchmark values will be removed to allow the local industries to grow. For me, it's a beautiful thing. If any basic economist will tell you that you would rather have to protect your local industry through taxation and others to promote it. So there again, the minister has been able to meet the NDC or the minority halfway. When it comes to Ejapa had to do with misinformation. According to the minister, it was there not for the fiscal space, but rather as a form of information. Then again, the minister is prepared to amend or take it out.
Okay.
It is not something that is a problem. Eka energy. The Eka due to, it was a point of amending. When you read the paragraph, page 892, it was about the Ministry of Energy reverting back to Parliament.
Right.
As to where they are negotiated to. And they mistook that one to be an authority to go ahead with whatever they wanted. The minister said, we are ready to take it out. So if you presented 5 issues and the minister has met you 3 or has taken 3 out of it, that means you are making progress.
What is it about the e-levy that government would not want to scrap or reduce?
The reality of the day. Everybody, and I don't think my brother here will tell you the government has only revenue. No government can survive without revenue. And the only means of getting revenue is through taxation. You have to tax your people. You can only claim a portion of this country when you are contributing to this country, and you can only contribute.
If today the New Patriotic Party government is talking about taxation, it was this same party in opposition that promised Ghanaians that they were going to change the economy from taxation to production. So the NPP government will be the last government anybody would have expected to be taxing Ghanaians.
When we made those statements, we did not imply that we were not going to tax Ghanaians. Indeed, when you go back to our 2017 budget, you realize we took about 13
What was
taxes.
your statement premised on?
I mean, taxes that would not help production. For instance, if you were charging financial services VAT in 2016, whereby you go to bank, go and do transaction, and you were made to pay 17.5% on it, that was not encouraging productivity. You understand? import levy of 1% was not encouraging people. So all these things were taken out of the equation to allow people to have some breather. But let me say this, just say that, you know, budgets are prepared for a particular year. We are in this budget is for 2022. What it means is that we have a peculiar problem going into 2022 that we need to deal with it. There is a general principle, the folly of doing A whilst hoping for B. We are at the crossroad. Do you renege or do what is right, taking those hard decisions to save this country, or you look at it to go and crash? Every day, you and I, you go around as journalists, you know the number of Ghanaians that complains about bad roads, water situation, bad hospital, schools, etc., etc. All these things can be done or prosecuted with taxes. Again, my brother, like he rightly said, we are owing about 400 billion, actually 341 billion. How did we come by this huge debt?
Are you not burdening Ghanaians, especially the poor, by taxing mobile money? Because you know that majority of the poor are the persons who patronize mobile money a lot in this country.
So here again, we have to be able to define who a poor person is. According
to ESLA also, if you have more than 100 cedis on your phone, it means that you are rich. So it may not necessarily be true.
So just as the whole idea is that less than 2.3 people or less than 2.3 Ghanaians actually pay direct taxes. That is not to say that Ghanaians, you know, or every Ghanaian pay tax by means of indirect tax. If you buy goods that are taxable, you are also contributing. But less than 2.3 Ghanaians pay direct taxes. What it means is that these 2.3 people are rather the ones backing the economy full way. So what do? You target those areas that can, as it were, assist you to get a lot of people contributing to the tax bracket. This is all that this e-levy is about. And it is no wonder that the NDC itself, if you read the inform at the front page, Haruna says yes, Muntaka says no. Because they acknowledge, they have been in government before, they acknowledge that without these taxes, and they have been presented with facts and figures, this country may run into a ditch. You need the money. Do you go outside the country to go and borrow, which comes with excessive interest rates, which you would again pay this interest with the same taxes that you collect, or you will force the people locally to contribute to the development of the country? This is where we are, and I believe it is rather unfortunate that this country had to go through COVID, where we will lock ourselves for a full year without active productivity and be faced with these challenges. It is a amalgamation of our irresponsibilities in the past that has brought us thus far, and for that matter, we must suffer.
Don't you think that government should rather be looking for more innovative way, or a more innovative way of widening the tax net rather than the 1.75% e-levy?
So first of all, before you can do that, you need to have majority of your people captured in the database. We are now in that process. We are now doing the Ghana card. We are now synchronizing Ghana cards with the registrar generals, with your SNIT and everything, to get more people in the tax bracket so that you can tax them. You see, once more people are in the tax bracket and are taxable, it means you spread the burden. As we speak, the burden is only on few people, and that is where the problem is. But I do not believe that the government has to sit down by not taking the right decision, irrespective of the unpopularity that you become, because you were voted for as a government not to come and take simple decisions. You need to take, it's just like a child that is sick. Your daughter is sick, doesn't want to take that bitter pill, but you know very well that that bitter pill is what to cure the child. As a parent, are you going to sit there and say you will not give the child a bitter pill because the child is going to cry? No, then you will be an irresponsible father. And I will not support such a father. So we need to take those critical decisions. And I believe that is why the Minister of Finance says with e-levy is a no-go area. Because if you look at the whole trajectory, our tax and our transaction system in this country, the only way to get that maximum revenue into the system is to target where the masses are going. Other than that, we will not be making any headway. And I strongly believe that my brother believes or agrees to the fact that taxation is the way out. And until we do that, we will continuously continue to compile or pile up our debt. And it will move from where it is now, where it is at 341, to say 1 billion. And where will we go? Will we be able to sustain it? No, we have to do what is right now. And it is important we do what is right.
Well, now, the question is, if you look at generating revenue for the country, Ghana Revenue Authority will tell you that there are a lot of people who could have captured on the, probably the tax net. Unfortunately, we are unable to do so because under normal circumstances, I used to be with Ghana Revenue Authority for my national service. And at the time, you realize that people who were supposed to pay direct taxes, they are doing businesses and all of that. So when you go, they were supposed to pay. They try to dodge, paying tax and all of that. All those people are there. Why don't we look at ways and means of getting those people onto the tax net rather than this particular, 1.75%? When people are doing businesses, people are doing lots of businesses. They are supposed to pay tax. They are supposed to do so. They are not doing it. And you would rather want to go and burden the ordinary Ghanaian, somebody whose grandmother or mother is in the village, she hardly sees 200 Ghana cedis. He said 200 Ghana cedis to the person and the person is going to be deducted.
It's unfortunate. I mean, that should have been the right way. But until we get there, we are still gathering data about people. There are so many people walking about the streets of this country that we don't even have data on. Until recently that we started this whole national card. And so until we get there, the country can also ground to a halt. You have to work. You have to find ways and means of generating. So some of us have to sacrifice to the point that majority of Ghanaians would be captured. People who are in the informal sector collecting or making more money than those in the formal sector. How do we capture them? The person selling scrap, you would think that he doesn't have money.
Don't you think that should have been the conversation as it stands now? And look at how to get those people to pay their taxes so we can widen the net rather than looking for easy ways, because I see this as the easiest way of widening the net, which would not help the ordinary Ghanaian. Already, you know that the ordinary Ghanaian, the typical Ghanaian, is complaining about economic hardship. And you are adding more. It looks as if government is adding to the problems of the ordinary Ghanaian by the introduction of this levy.
The president has agreed or has admitted that there is hardship in the system. Me sitting down here, I agree there is hardship in the system. Until we get to the point that majority are captured, just you would agree with me that you can also sit down as a government by not collecting revenue. You have to look at the easy way out whilst doing what is necessary, what is needful. Things that we were supposed to do in the past that we could not do, we still have to pursue it and do it. It is our own fault. Because if Ghanaians were going to agree that for the next 3 years, the bad roads in our areas, we were not going to tackle it. The government must feel free, deal with all the issues that are stated to make sure that those that are not paying taxes pays before they call for rules. Then the government, I would agree with you. But those that are not having rules, good rules, they will not sit down.
We also, the finance minister also talked about the fact that look, these taxes, especially the e-levy, is to take care of construction of roads. I mean infrastructure, including roads and all of that. What sense does it make to scrap road tolls, which was meant to take care of some of those things, to come and levy the ordinary Ghanaian in order to take care of that instead? Why would you scrap road tolls?
So the road tolls throughout the country every year was generating 78 million cedis. 78 million cedis. Ghana cedis.
You would have been able to do something right.
It would be able, it's money, but in terms of government, it's not money. So you are looking at 78 million versus 6 billion estimation of the e-levy. So which one would you go? And again, you also know as a government, you don't want to burden the people that much. So you look at the tax component that you can scrap to give them that leverage or that leeway to also feel that at least government is also helping them and to go for the big fish.
How would the road to reduce the burden on ordinary Ghanaian?
Now for now, you and I, LHM just used my road and he didn't pay. It has saved him. He would have paid 1 cedi coming out. That would be 2 cedis. Multiply that one by 30 by 12. You would see that it's a lot of money. You see, when you are paying it 1 cedi, you will not feel the impact. You understand? But when you do the mathematics for a year, then you know that at least government has saved you something. In any case, 100% of zero is zero. But once you are paying something, it's something. So to that extent, you cannot say that government has not done well. Government did well by taking that off and going targeting where it can get more to develop the. If you look, this budget that we did, the last time there was this recruitment drive by the security agencies. You and I were all crying that why would the youth mass up at the various recruitment centers? This budget seeks to, as it were, address that challenge through the e-levy. Okay. That if you're able to mobilize more revenues, and which we would anyway, the youth that are ready to go into business will be given some soft loans to be able to start life.
Right.
Why wouldn't you support it that way? Do we prefer the youth continuously being a burden on the society, or we find innovative ways of empowering them so that the country can also see some fruits coming out of them? That is where we are now.
Right. Thank you so much, Mr. We'll come back to you. Viewers, you're still watching Hot News Radio on Pan African Television with me, Justice Appiah. Please share the Facebook Live. Those of you watching us on Facebook should share the Facebook Live for other people to also watch tonight's edition of the program. And again, you would want to respond to some other things. And I mean, after your response, you can delve into the strike by the trotro drivers as well.
Yeah, Justice, the irony of the submission of my brother is the fact that in the NPP's attempt to defend the indefensible, they keep shooting themselves in the foot.
How did he do that?
In the first place, you said that you want to widen the tax net and rake in more revenue, the easy way out. Then you had a road minister who, on his own accord, without recourse to Parliament, go immediately to cause a cessation of the collection of road tolls. Then you sit and you defend that the amount generated annually from that is no money when we want to talk of governance. No amount of money is too little. 1.75% is actually no amount anyways, if we want to compare that to the 100, it takes of 100 cities. Yet you believe that so many people will be doing so, forgetting that whatever research you did that gave you that conclusion, that because in an era of COVID, where you have advised people not to go to banks, not to go to physical space, they prefer doing electronic transactions more, which is one of the major reasons why electronic transactions has shot up. For which reason, if the next year or two COVID goes out completely or goes down drastically, you expect people to now go out and will no longer even do so. But it tells you that even the
in widening the tax net, you look at where you can get more people to pay tax.
Get more
Here's
people.
the case. Yes. Here's the case. If you look at the number of people who have subscribed to, you know, the electronic way of transacting business and all, or electronic transactions, there are a lot of people over there. Take mobile money for instance. I think 2018, 2019, thereabout, their revenue was more than that.
I
of the
gave you a
banks and all of
scenario,
that.
which your listeners also listen to, or the viewers, that you are earning X amount of as salary. Let's say 1,000 cedis as salary, and that is after deductions, tax, after you are being taxed as a citizen of this country. So for which stay in your studios and say, I have paid my tax as a citizen because before my salaries was paid to me, tax was deducted.
Right.
Now you put that money, because you don't want to put it in a wallet where armed robbers may attack you and you lose it.
Right.
Because government itself is advising you to do so in order to reduce crime. Now you put it on your mobile device after tax has been deducted. Then now you want to go and buy something worth 300 or 500. And the government goes behind to tell you again that you must pay tax on that transaction. Does it make sense? Then the woman who you pay the 300 to, in the end, after everything, is also going to be deducted another tax if she wants to withdraw that money or effect another transaction. Does it make sense? So the point is that the fact is the e-levy itself does not even make sense, because it's actually a duplication of taxation. And my brother is talking about widening the tax net. Do you recall is it the Pullman hotels they are building at the airport city area there? The president looked us in the face and gave a 28 million waiver to that, a family member. 28 million. 28 million waiver. That is how much he gave to a family member to put up that facility over there with no justification. We can look into the many areas where money has been misappropriated. So like he said, indeed, every government needs money to work. But if my government will be very irresponsible and not accountable, as we speak, the president is still living a luxurious life with his concubines, some that we cannot even account for, and they don't want us to even say it. Up to date, they have pretended to be quiet over Sawabruni. That is how low the presidency and the leadership has sunk. That our presidential jet can be actually boarded by every Tom, Dick, and Harry without any proper security clearance. And to that level where the president now feels that he will be paying about £15,000 an hour for a luxurious private jet so he can sleep, he can shower before he goes to meetings. And these are the same people talking to us about tightening our belts. How is the president tightening his belt himself? Isn't it pathetic? Does it make logic to anybody who is listening or watching us? You want to widen the tax base. You want to tax more people, including even the very poor. But your own family members, you are giving them tax waivers of 28 million. Do you know how many schools that would have built? Do you know how many factories it would have set up to provide jobs? So why would we want to pretend that even the road minister by now should not be hauled before the privileges committee to be dealt with as to why he usurped the laws of our country? So let us not play just jokes with this. About even the benchmark values, etc.
Right.
You deliberately take something out that this is zero. Then you introduce something else which is about 4 or 5 times of what you actually took off. What have you done? Robbing Peter to pay Paul? Then when you say that, oh, 5 out of the 1, look, even if it is 1, it matters more to Ghanaians. The intention is to protect the public purse and the interest of Ghanaians. So for anyone to even think that leaving 1 out or 2 out, why is the finance minister adamant holding a position of no movement on the e-levy?
What are the
and you heard even was the energy minister.
What are the alternatives? It looks as if the minority group in parliament are only kicking against, you know, the introduction of.
Do you know who the best person is to answer this question?
Alternatives.
I will give you alternatives, but let me first tell you. Let me tell you the first person to answer this question.
Right.
On December 2, 2015, this is what Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia tweeted. NDC has resorted to increasing taxes under the economic difficulties they created. An MPP government will do differently.
Okay.
What have they done differently now? Taxing the poor to pay more? That is why we are telling you. Who are the people who drive cars? I am telling you that it is actually the rich. The people who can afford. On average, how much is a car? And when I'm saying this carefully and advisedly. Because even the trotro driver, the car does not belong to him.
Okay.
He has a master. It is that master on whose behalf he is paying the road toll.
Right.
Look at the motorway when you ply that route now. From here to look at the road. You want to expand road networks. You want to better the road networks.
Right. And
you don't think that you must maintain the existing road tolls. But you see, it is because this is a government that speaks big English and does very little. So they said to us that they will do differently. They will not do this. They will not do that. Now confronted with the reality, you are telling us that the economy will collapse. Did you not know that when you were doing the things you were doing, you will collapse the economy?
How do you expect government to service the loans? How do you expect
Justice in the first place
more jobs? How do you expect government to
in the first place?
I mean,
in the first place, that is one challenge. Even you, the journalist, should probe them on.
Okay.
Why have they increased the public debt to over 220 billion, and they cannot account for what they have used that for? Because it is expected that when you go for loans, you should invest them in what? Capital investment.
Right.
Look at the Terminal 3. How much have they not made from that so far? So even if 10 billion was taken to build Terminal 3, a lot of money is generated from that to actually pay for itself. President Mahama can show you schools, he can show you hospitals, he can show you roads and other facilities that he borrowed to build. What at all have we got to show for?
Would you consider the fact that this government is actually confronted with COVID-19? People were fed. Those monies were taken from the coffers.
How many times were you fed, Justice?
Well, I wasn't, but I know people who were fed.
You saw how they rather helped COVID spread in the sharing of the food items when they said they were sharing food. You and I saw that.
Right.
You, the media, showed it to us all, where people were scrambling and running for food. In the midst of COVID, they could not devise any sensible way of sharing food by throwing food to people. And you saw what they did. Has COVID not been there? Is COVID not the very reason why they went for the $1 billion, $100 million here and created a fund? Up to date, they have not accounted for a peso of how much had gone into that coffers. It appears COVID has rather come as a savior to this government because it gave them justification to go to the international community to secure all manner of funds. And they cannot account for it. And we dare not even ask them. Recently, we asked that we want to even know how much it is costing for the president's travel. A minister told us that we had no right to do so, and he has instructed somebody not to let us know. The effrontery of people in power who are drunk. That is the impunity.
Once again, don't you think that the introduction of the 1.75% e-levy is a necessary evil?
You want to tell me that a duplication of tax should be accepted by Ghanaians and even you in the media? That can never be accepted by any Ghanaian. Why would I be taxed for my salary? Who taxes capital in the first place? Who taxes capital? It's only the MPP that is making me see this in the first place.
Right.
Who does that? That is what we're saying, that look, you must seal the loopholes. You should be able to tell Ghanaians, okay, out of the, let's say, X amount of people in the formal sector, only Y amount of them are paying tax, and we want to put in measures to ensure that we shore up the tax level to punish those who are evading tax, to serve as a deterrent to the others. You haven't told us anything of that sort. All was e-levy, e-levy, e-levy. Looking at the poor person in the face, pressing the eye hard, and then asking if it is paining them. Look at the untold hardship that has been brought to us. The irony of all this is that I feel for the NPP.
Right.
The hardship we are going through is the same as theirs. Because when you go to the pump to buy fuel, they will not ask for your NPP card before they discharge fuel into your car.
Not at all.
If you are going to make a transaction and the pound has already broken the 8 that they claim the dollar and the euro will break, they will not ask whether you're NPP or NDC. If you go to the market to buy kenke, the kenke seller will not ask you to show your card before they sell kenke to you. So we are all suffering. You are feeling the same way too, but by virtue of where you belong, you are unable to speak. I would say that the best thing they can do is to actually avoid the media encounters.
Right, your take on briefly, just a brief one. I'll go to. I'll wrap up with
on the strike by the,
because you just mentioned the fuel, and I think that the GPLTU embarked on the strike because they are demanding from government to reduce the fuel prices.
Justice, I want to just read two things and conclude in a minute.
Right.
I have seen how drivers, both private and commercial, struggle to pay for the high prices of fuel and insurance premiums. Vote Akufo-Addo. This was at 10:45 p.m. on the 5th of December 2016. That's President Nanado, then candidate Nanado. I have seen how drivers, both private and commercial, struggle to pay for the high prices of fuel and insurance premiums. Vote Akufo-Addo. Then on the 3rd of December 2016, to the taxi and trotro driver who has been hit by high cost of fuel and insurance, you have a chance to vote for change. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. So you see, the populist approach to politics, where you feel you are in opposition and you can say all manner of things and to malign your opponent.
Right.
Now this is the reality staring them in the face. For the first time in Ghana's history, nationwide, we saw people walking from their homes to their workplaces or to their destinations. Isn't it so shameful? Is this the same Kwame Nkrumah's Ghana? The same Kwame Nkrumah that they wouldn't like us to extol built this Ghana. Go look at the motorway. Yesterday I was driving through the Tema Harbour, and I had to take video of how beautiful it looked and only say thank you to John Dramani Mahama. They should tell us what they have done.
Okay.
The drivers are now suffering, and they are trying to call them back door, and there's some division coming up in the front of their leadership, just to do a divide and rule tactics. But Ghanaians are feeling it. You compromise them, you compromise Ghanaians. You make Ghanaians face the challenge. So that is the reality confronting us all.
Thank you so much, Ali Kem. You compromise the other Ghanaian. Let me go to Mr. Osu. Take us home. You want to respond to some of the things said by Ali Kem, and then you touch on the strike by the drivers.
Well, that my brother, like he rightly said, every government needs revenue.
Right.
And that is the most important thing I pick from what he said. And once you need revenue, it means you have to tax people. Government has looked at all the indices and has realized that and others can generate enough. So let us all understand. I mean, we was again talking about the huge loans that we have contracted. It is important that why are we where we are? It has to be made known to every Ghanaian that whatever loan this country takes is approved by Parliament. And Parliament does not only consist of the MPP. It consists of the MPP and the NDC. So once a loan is approved by Parliament, it means both the NDC and the NPP accepted it. Now, before a loan is approved, one will be shown what the loan, the purpose for which the loan is being contracted. So if today we sit here and my brother says, what did we use the loan for? What my brother is telling us that his members of Parliament did not do a good job, or they did not do the monitoring business as parliamentarians.
I see.
Let us be clear that the reason why the budget was the so-called budget was rejected on the 26th of November was that, but it takes Parliament to approve any budget that comes, and once it is approved, it is the budget of Ghana.
Minority, you have their say, majority, you have their way.
Fortunately for us, we have a hung parliament. And you see, one of the things that parliamentarians must understand.
The independent candidate the independent member of Parliament has agreed to do business with the MPP side. It makes them simple majority.
See, since 1992 that we started our democracy, always has been a majority and minority, majority and minority. The Ghanaian is very smart. In 2020, the Ghanaian said, well, the NDC always claims they want to build Ghana. The NPP always claims they want to build Ghana. Now we will give you a hung parliament so that both of you go there and work for the betterment of Ghana.
Right.
And that is where we are. We are supposed to work to better this country. I don't want the minority to do things out of politicking, but rather to look at the interests of this country. The same way the majority. All of us at this stage are not too comfortable with paying taxes. But the reality is that without the taxes too, this country will not move. So I would urge both sides, consensus building. Put your heads together and let's do what is good for Ghana. At the end of the day, we all want to build this country. It is not a matter of we are not enemies. It is that we are going to say Kumasi. One says we can go through Cape Coast, others say we can go through Nkoko. The final destination is Kumasi. So let us go there, let us do what is good for this country, and let us move it forward.
Right.
On the issue of strike by the GPRTU, then again, I don't see where the government can take the blame. In 2015, this country realized that there was a need to, as it were, embark on deregulation. I thought then, and I made declarations that it was a good thing to happen to this country, because hitherto you go to the various pumps and people are queuing for fuel because government claims always subsidize fuel, and it was not good because your money, you don't have enough money to subsidize it. So deregulation came into being through courtesy our NDC brothers, and it was accepted by Parliament. So I don't see it even as NDC business. It was Ghana that accepted it, and out of that various taxes were put on fuel. So if today GPRTU and its members are saying that government should remove some, don't forget they already removed the stabilization levy. Yes, so the prices on international markets are going up, and so you are not feeling the effect of that removal. What do? Do we force government to go and subsidize so that government is unable to do so, and by extension we are unable to bring crude to this country, so that the same transport owners will go to the various pumps and not get fuel to fetch, no sales for the day, or you buy them and pay? That is where we are.
This year alone, how many times did this MPP government increase fuel?
MPP government, the formula that is there that is increasing fuel. The Parliament of Ghana consisting of the NDC and MPP put forward for the people of this country is what is dictating prices. Unfortunately for us,
did President Akufo-Addo and Dr. Bawumia know that when they were posting those things on Twitter in 2015 and 2016 thereabout, asking Ghanaians to vote for them based on the fact that fuel prices were on the high at the time?
You see, Justice,
my brother,
tomorrow will be 7th December. Is that not the case? It will be exactly a year that the people of this country voted for Nana Akufo-Addo.
Yeah.
My brother was talking as we have only 2 months to elections. The people of Ghana reposed their confidence in the New Patriotic Party just a year ago, knowing what we have done. It is not for us to come on TV and then say otherwise. The people of this country have weighed the NDC, have weighed the NPP, and they know which of them will be able to solve their problems. Let us give them that benefit of the doubt that indeed they are able to make good choices. In terms of whether or not they knew that fuel, you can't do fuel politicking at this juncture, those things that you are alluding to, Nana Akufo-Addo and Dr. Bawumia, were never captured in our manifestos. And my brother would not be able to pinpoint any part of our manifesto that will capture this statement that were made by. So even these statements that you are talking about, these are documents that were having that are not in a position to even confirm or deny it.
I have given you the dates, time, and year.
Give me dates and time and year.
Timeline of the.
You came with your phone. I don't know whether you manufacture. My phone, there is nothing of that on my phone.
Right.
You've been able to manufacture documents here and read it to the
also, but all of us, have access to.
So what I'm saying is that to the extent that we, as a party, we work with our manifesto and these issues are not captured in, I do not want to, as it were, focus on those issues.
Very well. But the inconveniences that has created.
I sympathize with commuters today. Today, myself, I have to give a lot of people lift. Because you realize that people that through no fault of theirs, who may be sacked by their bosses because they couldn't get to offices early, had to go through this. It's not the best. I would urge the Ministry of Transport together. Already they had a meeting. I'm sure something positive. But in terms of taxes, we cannot do without it.
We cannot do without it. Thank you so much. What do you want to say?
So they say things to the public on their handles, and we are not supposed to take them serious. That is why you even have the Vice President be very comical to stand in public and say, "Oh, you yes, that is how loose governance has become, and it's very pathetic to say the least." That's the Vice President said it as well. Yes, he said what? Didn't know of that too.
Maybe he has no idea. Thank you so much for coming. I'm so grateful. Also, thank you so much for coming. I'm so grateful for your time. Today has been very interesting. I enjoyed the show a lot. This is time will allow us on the program. Let me say a very big thank you to my director, Sewa, my producer, Latifa Seches, my sound man, and Titi, also my sound man, Foster, in the studios. Thank you all so much for always staying up to make sure that we give the good people of Ghana a good show. Make a time with us same time tomorrow. My name is Justice Appiah. The show has been Hot News. Goodbye.